Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Watchcastage. Today we are going to be looking at a watch that, I will admit, made me feel like James frickin' Bond while I was wearing it, albeit not on the bracelet it came with. But this is the Lorier Neptune III, and this runs around $500. If you are interested in this watch, I'll throw a link in the description down below. Not an affiliate link or anything like that, but just in case you want to buy it, any of that, whatever, cool. And before we get into the review, I know this is a watch channel and all that, but I'm done dicking around with my audio. I thought I was being all cute. Oh, I'm gonna use a small diaphragm condenser and hang it over my head and be really cool. No, I got an SM7B chunky right in my face, so we're getting as good audio as we can get on this channel. Let's talk about the build quality because I'm off the rails. First, as far as the weight, with the bracelet sized up for my 18 centimeter wrist, it comes in at 136 grams. The case diameter is 39 millimeters. The case thickness is 13 millimeters. The lug to lug or lug tip to lug tip comes in at 47.1 millimeters. And you can see the bracelet does not have any protruding end links, so it really does fit like 47.1 millimeters. The lug width is 20 millimeters, so you'll use 20 millimeter straps. You can see on the side of the case that you do have drilled lugs, which will make changing of the strap or the bracelet much easier. The water resistance on this watch comes in at 200 meters, and that is thanks to a screw-down crown and a screw-on case back. This is not going to be a press-on, screw-on, so 200 meters of water resistance. Then the crystal on this thing is going to be a domed Hezolite crystal. You can see how incredibly domed it is and that amazing distortion that you get on this thing. The bezel has an aluminum insert, and it is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. It has a bit of backplate to it, so not the firmest or most precise bezel action there. The entire case is made out of stainless steel, so you're not going to have any issues there. The bracelet as well is going to be a stainless steel construction. As far as the adjustment on the bracelet, you will find screw links, which I have found myself really enjoying over push pin or pinning collars. I really like the screw links. The clasp is also going to be stainless steel, and it is a dual button deployant clasp. If we look a little bit closer, it is going to be a milled clasp. And then we do have 3 holes for micro adjust, so it's not the most adjustable, but you have plenty of room to work with. And typically I like mentioning where these watches are manufactured, and to be honest, I'm not sure where Lorier makes their watches. I wasn't able to see anything on the watch, and I couldn't find anything online. I'm going to guess that for the micro brand, it's probably manufactured in China, with maybe some finishing in the States or maybe some QA in the States. I'm not 100% sure there, so don't quote me on that. And if any of you do know where these watches are manufactured, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Then as far as the finishing on the case, the entire case is going to be brushed stainless steel, except for this high polished chamfer edge along both sides of the watch, which adds a nice bit of interest to the side of the case. Here's a shot of the top of the lugs and the other side of the case with the crown on it. Then as far as the bracelet, this is also going to be a brushed stainless steel, and I know people absolutely adore this bracelet. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan, but I can see why people do enjoy it. Then as far as the clasp, the majority of it is going to be brushed and it is going to be signed, but then as you go from the top to the sides, you can see that you also have this high polished chamfer edge there as well. Then when we look at the bezel, it is very simple and straightforward. At 12 o'clock, we have a triangle. Then at every 5-minute mark, we have dashes. And at every 10-minute mark, we have the numerals. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then at 60, you have that triangle. Then as far as the dial, again, it is very straightforward and basic. I opted for the black dial, and I am so glad that I did because the black on this is so deep and rich. It just looks excellent. Along the exterior of the dial, you have a gold minute track. Inside of that, you have large elongated triangles at the 3, 6, 9, and 12. Every other hour, you have circular markers. Then at the 12 o'clock, you'll find some gold printing. First, you'll find the Laurier logo, Beneath that, you will find Laurier written out, and then beneath that, you will have automatic. And then if we look right above the 6 o'clock marker, you will find that it says 200 meters or approximately 660 feet to represent the water resistance of this watch. Then when we look at the handset, I find it extremely interesting. You have this very broad hour hand with a ton of lume in it. The minutes hand is this extremely elongated pointer that reaches nearly out to the edge or the end of the minute track. And then you have the seconds hand, which is extremely long, extends out to the minute track with this really petite small arrow with a bit of lume near the tip of it. Then as far as the movement in this watch, it utilizes the Miyota 90S5, which is the no-date version of the 9015. It is an automatic watch which does have hacking and hand wind. You can see I have it hacked right now. This movement is 24 joule. It beats at 28,800 beats per hour. It has a power reserve of around 42 hours. And the accuracy for this movement is listed at -10 to +30 seconds a day. And while I was wearing this for maybe 3 months, I was getting around +8 seconds each day, which I am more than happy with. Now here's a quick lume test for you. You can see that the hour and the minutes hand have plenty of lume in them. Everything on the dial is extremely well lumed as well. I do think the second hand is a little bit difficult to read. I suppose that's not the biggest deal in the world. And then the triangle in the bezel has a touch of lume as well, but it's not really that great. It seems to fade very fast. And if I didn't mention it, if it matters to you, they use BGW9 Superluminova. And here is a quick look at the watch on my 18-ish centimeter wrist. You can tell that it does fit pretty nicely. The lug to lug does not overhang. Really nice there. As we rotate around to look at the height of this, you can tell that a lot of that height does come from that domed Hesselite crystal. Not my favorite thing, but to each their own, I guess. As we rotate around, you can really see that the bracelet catches a ton of light. And I think that's what a lot of folks enjoy about it. It looks a lot more premium than it actually is. It's just not my aesthetic choice. And then as we rotate around, you can see the signed buckle right there, or signed clasp, rolling back around. There you go. Just a quick look of this on my quick look of it at it on my wrist. There you go. Now let's get to the more subjective part of this video where I share my thoughts on the watch, and we'll start with the pros. The main draw to this watch is the look of the watch head. It is a gorgeous vintage-looking watch, but you don't have the quirkiness or the unreliability of getting a 60s watch and having to worry about the upkeep or babying it. On the note of that, it's great to have 200 meters of water resistance. I know most people will never use that, but it's nice to have that little bit of added security. You have the screw-down crown, the screw-on case back, all excellent. I always enjoy having drilled lugs because that just makes my life easier when I'm trying to change out the strap or the bracelet. And I also really enjoyed the screw link adjustment on the bracelet because I just find that a lot easier to work with compared to pin and collar or anything like that. So I think that's a feature that they didn't need to have, but is a nice addition. But then as far as cons, I know a lot of people absolutely swear by Hesselite or acrylic. They love it because it gives you that nice vintage distortion and hue. I'm not a fan of it. I really don't like it. I left all the scratches on the Hesselite crystal because I wanted to show you what you could expect after a couple of months of light wear. I don't beat the crap out of my watches, and this crystal has a bunch of scratches on it. And right here, I'll have a macro shot so you can see the damage to the crystal, or maybe not the damage, but the scratches that were imparted on the crystal after a couple of months of light to regular wear. And then an even more subjective thing is the bracelet. As I mentioned, I know people absolutely love this thing because it captures the light and it fits to your wrist really well. I just don't like the aesthetics because when I look at this, it looks as though it was machined and then they didn't bother finishing it. I know that's completely subjective. That's just my opinion, and when I have had this, I have worn it on the bracelet very little. I ended up putting it on a black NATO or a black parachute strap. I think I used the Long Island watches. Is it Island watches or Long Island watches? I can never remember. But I have their parachute strap, and it makes this thing amazing. I love it that much more. And the last con is the bezel alignment. It is not the worst that I've come across, but it's just not perfectly aligned. The 12 o'clock is a little bit off. The 6 o'clock, the 3 is a little bit wonky. The 9 o'clock, dead on. And then the 3 o'clock is quite off there. So I think it's more of a printing error than it is the alignment, but I wanted to point that out as well. So in conclusion, given the price of this watch, I do really enjoy it. I have enjoyed wearing it. It does have its quirks. I don't like the crystal. I am not the biggest fan of the bracelet. But other than that, I think it's an absolute stunner. And as I mentioned in the beginning, while I was wearing this on a NATO strap or the parachute strap, I felt like frickin' James Bond. I felt like I was in Dr. No or something. It was really a fun watch to wear. And that's what it all comes down to, honestly. We don't need these. I know I've said that before as I punch my camera because I'm so furious about the world. I know we don't need them, so you ought to get something that you enjoy wearing, that brings you joy, that you have fun with. And this gave me a little bit of an escape, thinking, hey, look at me, I'm James Bond, minus the handsomeness and minus the accent. That's my conclusion, I guess. And I think that's going to wrap up the review of the Lorier Neptune III. All around a really fun watch. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. What are your thoughts? Do you like this watch? Do you hate this watch? Do you agree with my pros and cons? Or do you think I'm just a big fat stupid idiot? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, thumbs down. If you want more videos, you can subscribe, do that. And here is a sneak preview of the next review that we're doing. Going from 500 down to 15, because why not? Okay, I think that's it. SM7B on this review, because I'm done dicking around with my audio, boys. Boys, we ain't dicking around no more. Get your audio straight. Okay, that's it. I'll talk to you later. I'm rambling. Bye-bye.